People who lost their children, how'd you win them back? When my ex-wife remarried a millionaire, she convinced our 8-year-old son that I abandoned him because I was too poor to care. For 2 years, Tyler refused my calls and canceled every weekend visit. His stepdad bought him everything: iPad, designer clothes, even a pony. I was working 2 jobs just to afford child support. The breaking point came at Tyler's 10th birthday party. I showed up with a handmade wooden toy chest I'd spent months crafting in my garage. While the other kids played with expensive gadgets, Tyler barely looked at my gift. His stepdad announced they were moving to California for better opportunity. I knew this was my last chance. My ex-wife pulled me aside and whispered, "Just sign the papers. He doesn't need a father who can't provide." I watched Tyler playing with a $500 remote control helicopter, completely ignoring the wooden chest that had taken me 3 months of nights and weekends to build. Every dovetail joint was perfect, every corner sanded smooth, but to him, it was just cheap wood next to all that shiny plastic. That night, I wrote Tyler a letter explaining everything: how I'd saved every voicemail he'd left before the divorce, how I kept his drawings on my fridge even though he wouldn't see me, how I'd been putting money aside for his college fund instead of buying fancy presents. I included photos of our camping trips and baseball games from when he was little. The letter was 12 pages long. I rewrote it 4 times. I also included something else: bank statements showing the college fund I'd been building. $43,000 saved from working double shifts at the factory and weekend construction job. Money I could have spent on fancy gifts but chose to save for his future instead. 3 days later, my phone rang at 2 a.m. "Dad?" Tyler's voice was shaky and quiet, like he was hiding under covers. "Mom showed me your letter. Is it true you still have my old drawings?" I started crying right there in the grocery store checkout line. "Every single one, buddy. Every single one." "Can I see them?" he whispered. "Mom said you threw them away when we moved out." I had to pull over. "Tyler, I have a whole wall in my apartment covered with your artwork. Even that weird purple dinosaur you drew when you were 5. He started crying. "I remember that dinosaur. I named him Gerald." The next weekend, he asked to stay with me before the move. When he walked into my 1-bedroom apartment and saw his drawings covering an entire wall, some faded, some wrinkled from being moved so many times, he just stood there. His old Cubs poster hung next to them. His rock collection sat exactly where he'd left it on my bookshelf, but it was his old room that broke him. I'd kept everything exactly as he'd left it the day they moved out. His favorite stuffed dinosaur on the bed, his Harry Potter books on the nightstand, even the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling that we'd put up together when he was 6. "I thought you didn't want me anymore," he sobbed into my chest. The custody hearing was brutal. My ex-wife's lawyer painted me as unstable, obsessed with the past. She screamed that I'd manipulated him with guilt and nostalgia, but Tyler asked to speak to the judge privately. Whatever he said changed everything. He chose to stay. My ex-wife lost it completely, threatening to cut off all contact, saying she'd never forgive him for choosing poverty over opportunity. Tyler looked at her and said, "Dad never made me choose. You did." Tyler's in high school now, and every morning he sees that wooden toy chest in his room. It holds his baseball trophies now, not because it's expensive, but because his dad made it with his own hands, with love that money can't buy.